I'm Emma.
And I am Ellie.
And together we are
E Squared. Welcome back to another episode of Campus Chronicles.
The show brought to you by students for students.
Whoops. Okay. And what are we doing today, Emma?
Today we are talking about our freshman year of college because we have just very recently, as of today, completed our freshman year. What? Can you even believe that?
I know. We just struggled with our finals, and now we're finally done. And
It feels so good to just be able to sit back and finally relax.
Not to brag, but I'm going to sleep at 10 o'clock tonight.
Haha, not to brag.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we doing today, Ellie?
We are going to read off, some questions about our first year college experience. And, hopefully it'll pertain to helping some other freshmen coming in or, just people who are interested in the college experience if they're not yet about to, attend themselves. So maybe there's some high schoolers and stuff, or people looking to get back into, the swing of college. So, yeah, pretty cool.
So we thought it would be a good idea to do this today because, like I said, we, as of today or maybe last Thursday, have officially completed freshman year. So we figured it was very timely to do this, and we wanted to help maybe some upcoming freshmen or just anyone who wants to listen, like Ellie said. So let's get right into it with the first question. Are you ready?
Awesome, yeah.
Okay, we have them in a hat, so I'm just going to pull one.
Yeah.
Okay, did we like freshman year? That is the first question.
I actually really enjoyed freshman year. I feel like it was a really good opportunity to, sort of diversify my skill set. That sounds kind of technical, but just, it was really fun. I learned a lot more about my degree path. I learned Photoshop, I learned Illustrator.
Cool.
So that was fun. I can make images look really cool now, so.
Not to brag, but.
Not to brag.
Yeah, I agree with what Ellie said. I really enjoyed it, actually. I didn't think I would, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I'm excited to see what next year will bring. And it was cool to just learn new things and meet new people and have a different experience in my life than I've known all my life growing up. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what will come next.
Yeah, it was definitely something. I mean, stressful at some points and hard at others, and I didn't get a lot of sleep this year, but I had a lot of fun. So that's the good part.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. You want to pull the next question out for us?
Okay.
Yeah.
The next question is, what are some notable achievements that you have accomplished throughout the year?
Notable achievements. I think probably the most achievement was I got to feature a piece in a student art gallery. So,
what?
I know.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
So I I was assigned a project in my design class, and it was like to color in one of the other projects that I had already done, and I didn't want to, so I kind of like stuck it on top of a colored sheet of paper, and I was like, this is art. And apparently people liked it, so yeah. But yeah, it was pretty cool. So yeah.
Cool. Mine would probably be, I would say just getting it done, I guess. Like, I really struggled to just do it this year, so I'm glad that I made it through. And I guess one notable thing that I accomplished was I was the only one in my class to get a 100% on the first speech that we did. So that was pretty cool. Ooh, what?
That's fun.
Okay.
I love when that happens. Okay. Okay. So next question. Most enjoyable aspects of your college year. Freshman year.
The most enjoyable aspects of this year were probably, like I said, just learning new things and doing something different and just starting this chapter, I would say. And it was really cool to just try something new and to actually push myself to do it. And yeah.
Yeah, okay. I feel like the most enjoyable aspects of my college year, or first college year, I keep saying that. I think the most enjoyable aspects of my first year of college were probably just, getting out of my comfort zone for the first, sort of time in a while, I guess.
Yeah.
Because when you start high school, you kind of get into a new swing of things, and it's kind of chaotic at first, but it gets predictable after a while.
Yeah.
Coming to college, I've just been able to pick my own classes. I've been able to do what I want to do. It's just a really cool experience to be able to, sort of get to see what I like doing as a person and
Yeah.
where I like my life going. So,
Yeah, I full-heartedly agree with that. I guess I'll copy something that you said during the planning of this episode. But you said it was cool to just have autonomy for, like, the first time in your school life, I guess. And I agree with that. It's just cool to, like, plan your own things and take all the classes that you want to take and not ones that you absolutely have to take. And even if you have to take them, like, for the degree path, it's still something that you want to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, once again, one of the biggest motivations for me is I'm going to college for things that I want to learn instead of just, curriculum stuff. I mean, there are a few classes here and there that are required that aren't necessarily part of your degree, and that's fine. But for the most part, like, it's just been focused on all the stuff that I've always been interested in but never had the chance to explore on my own. So, yeah.
Woohoo, yay. Okay, so the next question is, let me pull it really quick. Something we recommend upcoming freshmen to do.
Okay, well, for me, I'd say, a couple of things that I'd recommend for upcoming freshmen to do are focus on the essentials that you need to get done before the school year starts. So for me, it was completing the FAFSA was probably one of the hardest things I did because I had a lot of weird technical errors happen. And once again, shout out to the Trio Center for helping me do that. And then another thing, if you need supplies for any of your classes and you happen to have either the FAFSA or some other form of scholarship money, I would recommend getting it from the bookstore because the bookstore accepts the students, like, not credits, but,
like the money that
the money
the government gives you, basically.
Yeah, student aid.
Yeah.
And they will just give you stuff, essentially. It's nice. So you take your scholarship money, you get the class materials, and it costs you a lot less because it saves you on time, and the bookstore is pretty cool. So, yeah. And then also just get your get your assignments done on time if you can.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I struggled most with this entire semester is just getting it done, and most of the time it would end up with me at, like, staying awake till 4 or 5 in the morning, and I don't recommend that for recovery.
I'm not capable of that. I would agree with everything Ellie said. I especially agree with get your assignments done on time. Just, it's important to do your work, especially compared to how high school was. And another thing I would add is that if you have a lot of different classes in the day, like you have to be on campus for pretty much the whole day, I'd pretty much recommend going to the cafeteria for lunch because I just feel like it's a lot cheaper and it saves you gas money too. And also get here a little earlier in the day because it's good to find parking spots because sometimes it's pretty hard to find a good spot. So if you don't want to walk like a mile outside of the parking lot, then that's obviously a hyperbole, but try to get here on time. And also if you get put into a group project, because it's bound to happen at some point, just try your best to be a dependable member of the group. And it's really not a good look if you don't try your best in everything that you have to do.
Yeah, actually, just to add to that a little bit, especially for group projects, if you are scared of the other people in your group and you're a freshman, just assume that they are equally as scared as you are. So, yeah, if you just, try to talk to people and make those connections, you'll find that you're making a lot of friends and you have, a bunch of new resources and experiences that you can reference now for your own personal needs. So, yeah. Also, friends. So, oh yeah, right. Now I turned to pick a question. Okay. What was your favorite class for fall semester?
My favorite class fall semester was probably Intro to Business because it was like the introduction, obviously, to what I want to study, which is marketing. And it was cool to get introduced to the world and to step into it and actually find that I was finding it interesting and that it was something I wanted to pursue. So that was cool. And then I also really liked my freshman seminar class, even though it was kind of like, why am I taking this when I first started it? But it was cool to just have a different change of pace and to get to hear the experiences of all the different people that were in that class with me, and the teacher was really nice. So yeah.
Yeah. And then for me, I'd have to say probably my intro to image editing class. It was the first time I had ever really messed around with digital image editing, and it was just a really cool new experience because I walked into the class, I, sat down with literally no knowledge of how to use Photoshop at all, and I walked out at the end of the year fully competent in, like, most of the tools, I guess. I was
Cool.
going to say abilities, but that's not the right word. um, and yeah, I mean, I'm still not amazing, but I feel like if I really needed to get a project done, I could reasonably do it now. So it's just nice to have that confidence,
Yeah.
I guess. So yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Okay, so our next question is, what were some cool experiences throughout the year that you had, like things you did, something like that?
Yeah. Cool experiences. I'd have to say, well, I'm learning I'm learning piano
Oh,
for
cool.
one. So yeah, I got to take a piano class, and that was pretty cool because I haven't really touched an instrument since high school. Not to let our audience in on my secret of being a band kid for 4 years.
It's okay, I was a theater kid.
Like 8 years actually. But yeah, it's nice to pick up an instrument again and be able to sort of kind of play it. I mean, call me crazy, but I feel like piano is a little difficult to learn.
I had a piano class and I dropped it because it was not working for me.
Yeah.
I would say one cool experience I had throughout the year was that, well, I guess this job, basically, it was cool to go to different events that I probably would have skipped just because, like, I felt like I had better things to do, but it was cool to talk to people and hear about what other people were going through. And one thing I really liked throughout this year was, in one of my classes this semester, we got to do a scavenger hunt around campus, and that was really cool to just like do something different for the day. That was really fun.
Yeah, she ran into the station looking for a 1971 penny. So.
Yeah, and then Ellie came in clutch and she had one.
Yeah.
That was a fun day, yeah.
So remember, another tip for incoming freshmen, always keep your pennies handy. You never know when you might need them.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, for the next question we have, what is one thing you learned that you can use going forward in the next year?
One thing I learned this year that I can take with me going forward is that it's really important, and I cannot stress this enough, to stay motivated, stay on top of things, and to ask for help if you need it, which I know is like the most cliche thing in the world, but it really helped me to just email my teachers and reach out if I needed some help. And one thing about the professors at San Juan especially is that they actually want you to succeed. I felt like that vibe from them the whole year. So that was cool to just like get the help I needed when I needed it and not have to like pick my way through like what they were wanting me to do, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then for me, I don't know, I'd say probably just to be a little more proactive in just
Tell me about it.
anything I'm doing, because I really enjoyed this semester, and I really enjoyed all the stuff that, I was assigned to do for the most part, but it was just, the lack of motivation in doing things that really kind of killed me. And
Yeah.
once I got started, it was perfectly fine. I could work for like hours and hours on end, no problem. But just, finding a motivation initially and getting started was a whole thing for me. So hopefully over the summer, I'll be able to, work on myself a little bit and
Yeah.
take up some personal projects and, just see how it works out. So hopefully when I get back, I'll be an expert in everything.
I'll be a
all the
pro.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely need to lock in a bit, you know what I mean? Like, it's very important to just stay on top of things, especially because that's something I also struggled with this year.
Yeah.
Which is natural. Don't feel bad if you also struggle with that. It's just a part of life, but yeah.
Yeah, no one has a perfect freshman year.
And
Probably.
speaking of which, this is a good question that correlates to that. What have been the most challenging aspects of your first year?
Most challenging aspects. Well, for me, yeah, once again, submitting work on time. I know I'm just saying that a lot. Sleep deprivation is another one.
Yeah.
Mostly just because assignments, and I have really bad insomnia, so that doesn't help anything. But yeah, that too. Navigating college for the very first time was kind of weird. But once you get the hang of it, it's really not that bad, especially since you get into a routine of where you're going and how to find stuff. So, yeah. And then finding resources too for the very first time was kind of difficult because you have to navigate the I guess channels is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Going to student centers and resource fairs and just asking for help initially is kind of daunting, but once you get into it, you just kind of realize that it's the norm and no one really truly knows what they're doing. So
Yeah, I agree with everything she just said. I know I always say that. I agree with what Ellie said, but I do have a lot. She has a lot of good points. So I would say, okay, the most challenging aspect for me this year would definitely be staying motivated. I just would look at my work sometimes and be like, I don't want to do that. But when you do it, it's worth it, and it's worth it to try and to actually put forth your best foot and not just put half of your effort into something, which is what I had to learn throughout the year. But I feel like going forward next year especially, I would try my best to put all my effort into my work because it really does pay off to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, motivation's always kind of a tough thing to get sometimes, especially when you don't want to do the stuff. I know for some of my introductory classes, just things that weren't necessarily related to my degree, I struggled a lot more with motivation.
Yeah,
but
because it's like, why am I doing this? But it's still something you need to do.
Yeah, you just gotta remind yourself that you're here because you want to learn, and sometimes learning requires things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
So.
And sometimes the classes that you feel are silly end up being one of your favorite ones of the semester. So, yeah.
So, yeah. And as for our next question, we have... That's upside down. We have... how do you like your major so far?
Oh, I really like it. I didn't think I would. It honestly surprises me now, looking back when I was about to start school, how much I do enjoy marketing, because at the start of the semester last year, so fall semester, I kind of picked one that seemed a little bit interesting, but I didn't really have an idea completely what I wanted to do, so yeah. But it's actually really cool, and I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I'm excited to see what happens with it next year.
Yeah. And I guess mine's kind of the same thing. I actually really love my major. I think it's going well, and I just really enjoy the processes that I'm learning in the major. It's kind of like, once again, I know I mentioned this in the first episode, but it's digital media, arts, and design.
Yeah.
And so it encompasses pretty much all of those aspects instead of just being one rigid thing like arts or design or, multimedia or something.
Yeah.
So I'm learning a bit of everything, which is cool because that's what I wanted to do in the first place. I have a wide range of different professors and people with different experiences and skill levels, so that's really nice. And then for most of my classes, we do critiques, so I get to see everyone else's work and draw inspiration from that.
Cool.
And yeah, it's just really nice. So I've been able to work on, some of my more artistic pursuits while just sort of also developing my technical skills too. So yeah, been a really cool experience.
Cool. Okay, so our next question is, what was your favorite class in the spring semester? So this current one that we just ended.
Okay, this is kind of a toss-up. But I had two classes. It's called Color Theory and Design that sort of overlapped, not just because, they're similar subjects and they require attention in similar details. Like, you can't really do color theory projects without doing a little bit of design and vice versa.
Yeah.
I mean, technically you can, but you get the point.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then both of the classes were held by the same professor, actually. So if you're listening to this, shout out to you. Cool. I really enjoyed class. So yeah, but yeah, I learned a lot about color theory, art in general, design, and I feel like I'm more confident when it comes to, just creating really cool things that I really enjoy creating. So, yeah, it was just really nice.
Cool. I would say mine was, even though it's a bit it's not really related to my major, but I took interpersonal communications this semester because it was just something that I needed.
Yeah.
Like a prereq. And it was actually really fun. It was cool to do something different than just sit in class on my computer for the whole time. And we got to play games. We got to watch a movie in there. We would have group discussions all the time. It was just interesting to, once again, like I said earlier, just hear from everyone in that class and get to make some friendships in that class. And the professor is really nice. So yeah, it was really cool to take that class and do something different than, like I said, just sitting on my computer. So yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe, who knows, one day you might use those skills in a radio or podcast show.
Yeah.
So.
Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah.
Okay, so
last question.
Our last question. What?
Okay. What have you learned about the college experience in your first year?
Okay, so I was just thinking of this because I saw it peeking out of the hat. I learned that there's no shame in trying something and failing because at least you tried it. You know what I mean? I had to drop, not 2 classes, but I almost dropped another one this semester. It's just, if you find yourself in the class, might as well drop it than go on to get an F, basically. And there's no shame in having to do that. And I think it's really important to just try your best in everything and find the things that work for you. And yeah.
Yeah, and then to add on a little bit to that, if you're not sure what you want to be doing, or what you want to get out of college, at least a little bit, I would recommend that you just experiment with your classes, take electives that you think might be interesting, sign up for courses that, have nothing to do with your major. Just, it's college. It's the time to experiment. I know it sounds a little bit stereotypical, but yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
And then for things I've learned personally, just, I don't know, it's a really interesting experience to go through for the first time because, you're navigating a whole new world and you don't really know what's fully going on all the time, but it's nice. It's a nice change of pace.
And it's nice to, I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's nice to just do things for yourself for once, I guess. It's way different than high school. It feels like you're actually doing what you want to do, and like even planning your classes, you get to do that. You have to make all your own appointments and go buy all your school supplies and stuff like that. So it's just cool to do something yourself. Like it feels like you're growing into a more mature version of yourself.
Yeah, it's like it's like a chrysalis almost. You come out a beautiful butterfly.
Oh, what?
So, yeah, but learned a lot of things, did a lot of things, and I feel like it's been a pretty good freshman year. What do you think?
I agree. I guess to end off our episode today, because we are done with all our questions, what would you rate freshman year out of 10?
Out of 10.
1 being the worst, 10 being the best.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna say 8.5.
Really?
Solely because I lost a lot of sleep, but that's mostly my fault. So 8.5.
I would say probably a solid 7 or an 8. So let's say 7.5 because I learned a lot of things that I can take into next year, and it was cool to go through it all. But there's definitely some things that, looking back, I should have done different, but all we can do from this point forward is grow. So yeah.
Yeah, and if someone is in a math course, you can do the calculations for the average of that score, and then
cool.
Email it to us. So yeah.
What? Okay, well that pretty much wraps up our show for today. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Campus Chronicles.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Once again, see you in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll have some new stuff for you by then. So, yeah.
So, bye. Have a good day.
Yeah, bye.